back to my video, and today we're gonna be watching 5 Halloween horror stories, cause you know it's Halloween. Yeah, I saw my previous clip that I was wearing a Halloween mask and I was like spooky, scary. Yeah, nah. But since it's Halloween, we're gonna watch 5 horror scary animated videos. So let's get straight to it and let's see what this video got for us. So
eagerly await Halloween every year when I was growing up. Since I wasn't able to attend Oktoberfest until I was 21, I really didn't have anything else to look forward to. I would trick-or-treat with my sister until she passed, or with
R.I.P.
friends.
bro.
Once I went by myself, and I really wish I hadn't. It was 2014. I was bored.
Yeah, you know what's crazy?
So
I went trick-or-treating. Like, fat ass bag of candy that I'm probably not even gonna eat all. I'm gonna sell it in school,
I figured I would buck tradition and go trick-or-treating by myself. I went to a Spirit Halloween store and bought a Link costume, since The Legend of Zelda is one of my favorite video game franchises. I saw a few other people there, and figured they were bored or going to.
Why is it a girl, but it sounds like a man? Okay. Okay. Oh, sorry guys, I was muted, but my eyes, like I was saying, my eyes are kind of tweaked, so if they like if they like go like this or something, then I'm just trying to like, you know, it like kind of itches. So yeah,
A party.
let's keep watching this
I paid
video.
for my things and left. I decided to leave it.
Bro, why does this girl sound like a man, bro? Like, bro, what the, like, come on out. What the hecky?
And when I walked outside, I saw a few other people starting early. I quickly called a couple of friends. One of them had apparently dressed as Laughing Jack, and the other was Clockwork, from Creepypasta Stories. We were talking via FaceTime, and at one point one of my friends asked, "Who did you convince to dress as a demon?" When I asked what he meant, he replied, "Don't play dumb. There's someone standing next to you dressed like a demon." I looked.
You see, that's what we're not finna do. Police! Yo! If there's some nigga next to me looking like fucking a demon, you best believe that I'm running out of there. You must be tripping if you think I'm standing there like, hey, no, bruh. No, bruh. You bugging out. I'm running. Like, what?
Looked over to my left, but I didn't see anything. I almost looked to my right, but before I turned that way, I felt a chill on the back of my neck. I knew if I turned my head completely, I would see something that I didn't want to see. I decided to just do my trick-or-treating to get my mind off of things.
I would have decked
People I
him.
knew said it was great, that I was doing it one last time, but I wasn't able to smile about it.
I would
Because
have
the whole
decked him.
night, I felt a nauseating feeling, and it felt like someone was following me. That same dreadful sensation that if I turned my head, I would see something terrifying followed me. After a couple of hours, I had a giant amount of junk food, so I was ready to go back home. I took a deep breath and turned around. That was a mistake. What I saw wasn't scary at first. It looked like perhaps an 8-year-old kid, and we just stared at each other. He looked at an old house that I just peeked inside to see if there were any occupants. Then he turned back to me. And he said something.
Wait. Sorry, guys. Did you guys see that in the background?
First, it looked like perhaps an 8-year-old kid, and we just stared at each other. He looked at an old house that I just...
Shut! Look. Oh shit. Look, there's Batman. It's Batman. The hell?
peeked inside to see if there were any occupants. Then
Shit.
he turned back to me, and he said something, with a voice that sounded more animalistic than human.
I never went to your house, so don't go to mine.
I was about to say something. Then the boy blinked, and when I saw his eyes again, they were red. At that very same moment, a scent hit me. It smelled of sulfur. I was so scared I actually froze there on the spot.
Do you want me in your house?
He or it then
Nope.
demanded
I don't
to
want you
know.
in my house.
It must have been loud, because a few kids turned towards me then. They screamed and ran away. I quickly shook my head, and this weird kid growled, then vanished. I probably broke Usain Bolt's record, judging by how fast I ran back home. I jumped inside my house and slammed the door shut. I know it was a demon. And I also knew that after that, I was done trick-or-treating for good.
Honestly, bro. When I got home, started praying with my Bible. What did you talking about, bro?
Nowadays, it's only Oktoberfest for me. Halloween has never been the same for me since
What if it was her dead sister? Could
that
have been her
fateful
dead
night,
sister.
back in 1983. It's been about 40 years now, but I still get chills when I think back to the last time I
Bro
ever
said
went trick-or-treating
1993.
on Halloween night as a kid. I grew up in a suburban neighborhood, right outside of Chicago. It was a pretty typical middle-class area. Rows of brick houses and ranch styles, big trees
Okay.
lining the streets.
Why do all the
Other
houses
than
look the
occasional
same?
storm,
Like,
things were peaceful
except the
and
doors, but like
uneventful.
everything
But
else.
that all changed when I was 14 years old. It was October 31st, and as usual, I was
Everything
looking
looks the
forward
same.
to trick-or-treating with my friends, Mike and Eddie. We had our costumes all picked out. I was going as Jason from Friday the 13th. Mike was a typical vampire, and Eddie was dressed up like David Bowie. My friends came over around 6, just as it was getting dark. We gathered up our pillowcases and headed out to start making our way through the neighborhood. Things started normally enough. We hit up all the familiar houses, getting the usual candy offerings. Mini Snickers, packets of Smarties, Tootsie Rolls, and whatnot. After about an hour of walking up
W snacks.
and
W
down the
snacks.
streets, our bags were getting pretty heavy with candy
Damn.
loot. We were planning to hit
He said pillowcases. Why is he walking around with a pumpkin basket?
a few more houses on our block, and then call it a night. We came up on this one old Victorian-style house in the corner that was always decorated really nice for Halloween. It had fake tombstones and cobwebs all over the yard. But when we walked up the path, there were no lights on. No one answered the door, even after repeated rings of the doorbell and knocks. Disappointed, we turned to leave, but that's when Mike stopped us. He said he'd heard at school a rumor about an old man who lived here. Apparently, decades ago, the man's young son had gone missing on Halloween night, never to be seen again. According to legend,
Guys, if you hear stuff in the background, that's people talking outside of my window, so yeah, don't mind that. Let me see. Yeah, that's people talking outside my window, don't mind that. But let's keep looking.
the grieving father refused to celebrate the holiday ever again following the disappearance. Now, maybe Mike was
Stupid, Mike, you could have said that at home. Stupid,
just trying
bro.
to mess with Eddie and me with a creepy story. But there was something so unsettling about that dark, empty house looming over us. I felt compelled to prove him wrong. I figured the old man had probably just stepped out, and we got there too late. Without thinking, I said we should check the backyard real quick.
Yo, you really feeding for some candy, bro? Like, bro, why do you wanna go check the backyard? Be serious right now, bro. Be
My two
serious right now,
friends
bro.
hesitated,
Exactly,
but
no.
eventually followed behind as I made my way along the fence toward the back gate. The gate creaked open easily.
Bro, isn't
and we
that
stepped onto
trespassing?
the stretch of overgrown grass behind the house. I headed straight for the back door, hoping to see a light on somewhere inside. But the whole house was pitch black. As we stood there on the back step, considering our options, a piercing scream shattered the silence. It was high-pitched and agonizing. We whirled around, trying to locate this sound. For a moment, nothing seemed amiss in the
Yo.
dark backyard. But then I spotted something emerging from a far corner, dragging itself across the ground. It looked like a person crawling on their arms, body arched and writhing unnaturally as it moved towards us. The thing let out another wailing shriek, and I could see the flash of a pale, emaciated face turned our way. The three of us screamed in unison, losing any composure we had left. We turned and ran frantically back through the gate, stumbling over ourselves to get away from that yard. We didn't stop sprinting until we were a block away, breathless and shaking. Once we'd all calmed down a bit, Eddie and Mike seemed convinced that someone was just playing a twisted Halloween prank on us. But I knew deep down that what I saw dragging itself across the grass wasn't a person in makeup or costume. The pale flesh, cries of anguish, it was all too real to be staged. I had no proof of what we witnessed, and my friends quickly normalized it as just a prankster trying to get some scares on Halloween. But I couldn't get the image out of my head. I had no doubt what we'd seen in that backyard was something unnatural, something that didn't belong in this world. We decided to call it a night. Then we headed home with our candy bags in hand. I hardly slept that night, listening intently for any strange sounds outside my window. When I finally did drift off, I had terrible nightmares of emaciated ghosts trying to scratch their way into my bedroom. The next day, I told my parents what I'd seen behind the house the previous night. They wrote it off, assuming Mike and Eddie had planned the whole thing to frighten me. But I could tell by the looks on their faces that they were unnerved, too. We didn't end up putting up any Halloween decorations that year. I've never gone trick-or-treating again after what happened that night. The following Halloween, I decided to stay home and hand out candy to the other neighborhood kids. As I sat watching horror movies in the living room, I couldn't ignore the feeling that something was watching our house from outside in the dark. To this day, I avoid being out on Halloween night. Even now in my 50s, I find excuses to be traveling for work or visiting family rather than staying local.
Bro, you still remembering that ever since you was 50?
The sinister presence I felt crawling towards us in that backyard.
Bro, he's not gonna get you anymore, bro.
Out there somewhere, whenever October 31st arrives each year. I won't make the mistake again of venturing out after dark, in case I might encounter it.
Bro, again with these ads, bro.
This happened last year on Halloween. I was 18 at the time, and my best friend Andrew was 17. We both thought at the time we were too old for trick-or-treating, and we thought handing out candy was lame. I then came to an idea. There was this old abandoned house that was close to mine. I wanted to go look around inside the house, because I thought it would be a good idea for Halloween. Andrew didn't like the idea, but being an idiot, I told him to stop being a baby. We then waited until it was time, then we headed over to the house. We were carrying flashlights with us so we could see. When we got to the abandoned house, I noticed all the kids trick-or-treating, and I felt like gagging. Look, somehow, some part of me always hated Halloween, and I never really knew why. I didn't know why, personally. Maybe it was just because I thought Halloween sucked. But at the moment, this abandoned house thing was making me excited. Anyway, when we got there, I smiled and looked up at it. It was very clearly abandoned. It was
Why
a
are they
huge
smiling
mess,
the same?
and a few windows had boards over them. Andrew then mentioned that we should just go home, because he didn't want to spend the night in jail.
Yeah, good job,
I told him
Andrew.
once again to stop being a baby. Then, without another word,
Bro, I
headed
would have
up to the
dipped.
front door.
What you talking about?
Once I was close enough, I reached for the doorknob. I was half expecting the door to be locked, but the door actually opened up. Andrew and I then looked at each other. I was worried. Andrew told me we couldn't back down now, so he walked on into the house, and I followed behind him. We were then standing in the front hallway. The house had 2 floors. We turned our flashlights on. They were quite bright, and they covered most of the area. Andrew told me he was going to look upstairs, and he told me to stay downstairs. Without another word, he headed up. I sighed deeply before heading off myself. Then I walked into an empty room. All the furniture there was gone. There wasn't anything in the room, and for some reason I was hoping to see something creepy, or at least a bug or a bat. Suddenly, I thought I heard a loud noise behind me. I turned around, aiming my flashlight at the noise, but whatever had made the noise was apparently gone. I walked out of the room into the hallway, still wondering what might have made that noise. Maybe I just imagined it. Maybe it was the house settling. I started mumbling about how stupid this was. I decided it was time to go, so I had to find Andrew, then we could leave. I noticed the room in front of me then, and realized it was probably the kitchen, so I decided to go check it out. I headed over, and I poked my head into the room. I moved my flashlight around. I didn't see anything but the normal kitchen stuff. I then walked into it.
Bro,
wondering
he's
if there
doing
was
too much
anything else
yapping.
there, besides dust and cobwebs. Just then, I stepped on something that almost caused my foot to shoot out from under me.
Stepped on
I
poop.
moved back and looked down using my flashlight. It was a big kitchen knife. I was about to bend down and pick it up to look at it, but something told me I probably shouldn't touch it, so I didn't. I kept wondering why a knife was inside this abandoned house, but I didn't question it. At worst, I figured when they moved out, the previous owners dropped the knife. I headed out of the kitchen and back to the hallway. That was when I heard a loud scream. It was Andrew. I ran upstairs, continuing to hear him yelling about something. He sounded terrified. When I got to where the screaming was, it was a dark, empty bedroom. I used my flashlight, and I soon found Andrew. He was sitting in the back corner of the room. But then I noticed someone else was in the room with us. For one reason or another, the other person did not notice me, or at least they didn't react to me, and I saw Andrew holding his flashlight like a teddy bear. I cleared my throat. Finally, the other person turned around. Whoever this was taller than both me and Andrew. I couldn't tell if it was a male or female, because they had some kind of creepy Halloween mask on, but they didn't seem to be armed. "Leave him alone," I shouted at the person, which was probably a bad idea, because the person laughed, and I could feel anger bubbling up inside of me. I knew that what I was about to do was a stupid idea, but it was the only thing I could think of. I threw my flashlight as hard as I could at this person. It hit them in the face, which made them shout out. This gave Andrew enough time to get away. The two of us ran downstairs, and I could hear the person yelling at us. We didn't look back. We just ran out of the house and down the street before stopping. We were at the sidewalk then, bent over and panting. I groaned under my breath. Andrew pulled out his phone, saying that he was going to call the police about what happened. A moment later, Andrew looked annoyed. He told me the police thought it was a joke, or unimportant, and they hung up on him. I was annoyed because
Bro,
we both
why
knew
did the
this
police hang
wasn't
up
a
on
trick
you?
or a prank. We went back to the safety of my house. I wondered then if that person may have been using the old abandoned house as a hideout or their own living space. And if the person was a thief, or worse, like a murderer, perhaps that was their base of operations. After this event, Andrew and I decided we weren't going to do
Alright
anything
guys,
crazy for
next
Halloween.
video is the last,
We
next
instead
part
helped my parents
is the
hand out
last
candy.
part we're gonna watch.
This happened to me and some friends sometime in high school, back in the early 2000s. There is a cemetery in Denver called Fairmount Cemetery. It was founded in 1890 and is Denver's second oldest operating cemetery, after Riverside Cemetery. It was designed by German landscape architect Reinhard Schutz. At 280 acres, the cemetery is patterned after the Mount Auburn Cemetery in Boston. This happened in 2006 or so. It was either Halloween or the Day of the Dead. I can't remember which. And my buddies, John and Trevor, and I decided it would be fun to go hang out in the cemetery and smoke there. Teenagers, right? So we hopped the fence, and we hadn't even smoked yet, but we were already getting a weird sense, like some sort of presence was out there with us. We began to make our way through the dark and misty tombstones. We were respectful, not stepping on any of the plots, or at least we tried not to anyway. We got down to a hill that was pretty exposed, but it wasn't close to any plots, so we sat down and got ready to fire it up. Just then, we saw what looked to be a series of small blue LED lights, like on a wand or something, like the kind of wands that people use at the airport to direct planes into the terminal. We figured maybe it was a security guard with a weird flashlight, or something of the sort. However, it was already trailing out of sight, so we ignored it. We got into position and got all nice and toasty. Suddenly, the night was alive with these orbs of light, bouncing all around us, the most beautiful colors of red and blue and purple and green. They were skipping across the tops of tombstones, twirling and dipping and diving. We were awestruck, and we were all seeing the same things too, so they couldn't have been hallucinations. Then, just as suddenly as they had appeared, they were gone, like all the air had been sucked out of the very night itself. And suddenly it got so dark, you couldn't even see your hand in front of your face. The kind of darkness you can almost feel and touch, heavy, thick, and sticky. Up ahead of us, we saw a light mist forming in the swirling wreaths of black.
Bro,
we couldn't quite make it out
you're
at
high,
first.
bro.
Gradually, to our collective horror, we could see what could only be described as a Grim Reaper. Tall and skinny, a skeletal figure, shrouded in shadow, cloaked in that smoky, swirling
Bro, you know
mist.
how he looked like?
Its eyes
Wait, you know how he looked like? Bro's built like this. Wait, let me move my thing. Bro's built like this. Bro's built like this. Alright, let's get back to this video. Oh, nah, that was so random.
seemed to be lit up from within, a soft red gleam glowing within its sunken human
shit.
skull for a face.
Sorry guys, my camera and my light fell up. That was not planned.
And it
But
had
let's
long,
keep
slender
going.
fingers that wrapped around a massive sickle with a huge blade.
Fortnite pickaxe.
We noped the heck out of there, running as fast as we could for the fence. We could hear it chasing after us, and just as we made it to the fence, we turned around to see it flying through the air right at us. We jumped on the fence and hopped over to the other side. When we turned around, that thing flew straight upwards, soaring high into the night, and eventually out of sight. I guess it simply wasn't our time. But I will say this. Don't go smoking at night in graveyards, especially during Halloween or the Day of the Dead. Beware if you're in Denver, because the Angel of Death is still out there somewhere. Maybe he's still flying high, waiting for someone to take with him.
Okay, that was creepy as fuck. But I'm not going to sleep tonight. But if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. I'll be dropping next week, you know. Sub up, like up, you know. Show all your friends. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed. And see you guys in the next video. Bye.